Hello, everyone. This is Bob Samuels from Tech Connector. I'm co-host of the ABM Leaders Group, and we've got a great panel assembled today to discuss channel marketing and particularly around optimizing MDF. And so panelists, if you can go around and introduce yourself, a little bit about your background, and Claudia, if you want to go ahead and start.
Can I let Leslie go?
Yeah, you can let Leslie go.
I want Leslie.
Would you like to start?
All right. We're going to go like
no pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Leslie Lohr. I am the Global Vice President of Growth Marketing at Avanti, which is an IT tech company. We provide IT security and service management and unified endpoint management software. And my role is a pretty interesting one because I really oversee all facets of the growth levers at Avanti from a marketing perspective, which includes growth through our channel and growth through our direct side of the house. So I get to see how these things interact together. And I think that the trends are that they're coming together more and more.
Agreed. And a fun fact?
Oh, fun facts. I was joking earlier. There's nothing fun about me. Okay, fun fact is I have recently rediscovered the game Skippo. My husband and I were at Target and we wanted a game because we were kind of sick of TV. And we were like, oh yeah, Skippo. We liked that as kids and we've been playing it every night.
I've never heard of it. S-K-I-P-O?
B-O. S-K-I-P-B-O. Skippo.
All right. We'll have to check it out. Thank you. Heather?
Hey, nice to see everybody or meet everybody virtually. I basically work with all of our global programs and channel teams to help make sure that we're successful with our channel strategy overall. So fun fact about me, let's see, I've been in 2 movies and 1 commercial when I was in high school.
Wow. Very cool. Thank you, Heather. Cam?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cameron Goldman. I am Senior Director of Vendor Relations at Pax8. We are a cloud marketplace for software. We carry about 75 vendors today, of which my team is leading the account management for. So we work with all of that, the vendors that are within our ecosystem. We're working on marketing programs with them, making sure that they're getting the best bang for their buck and really driving towards the ROI. And fun fact, when I was born, for about 20 hours, my parents said that my name was going to be Mark, and it didn't stick, never made it to the birth certificate, but I do have a US bond that they will not let me redeem because it says Mark Goldman.
Oh my gosh. That's unfortunate. Thanks, Cam. Tom?
All right, Tom Campbell. I am the marketing manager with DropSuite. We're a backup company. We back up email, Office, Microsoft 365, GW, Google Workspace, etc. We are we call ourselves partner built because we are very channel oriented, but also from our product, we actually reach out to our partners for product improvements and such. So channel is where we live right now. And a fun little fact about me is I was actually a panelist on the Phil Donahue show.
Wow.
For anyone that remembers that show way back when.
All right. Thank you.
We'll be Googling that later.
Claudia?
All right. Thank you, Bob, for inviting me. My name is Claudio Ayub, and I'm the Senior Vice President for the Technology, Media, and Telecommunications practice at 360 Insights. Think of the TMT in short practice as a advisory and consulting group that provides best practices around incentive plan design, loyalty, engagement, and anything having to do with ecosystem management. So for those that don't know, 360 Insights is incentives automation. And as of this year, we have also entered the ecosystem management space, and we have some terrific announcements for 2023, but I'll shut up right here. Fun fact, I still have cassette tapes I recorded in the 80s, and I play them on the Nakamichi 4000 every now and then with my wife. So
nice.
Nice, thank you. Thanks, Larry. And I'm Bob Samuels. I'm a co-founder of Tech Connector. We're an optimizer of B2B lead generation campaigns, including channel campaigns. So happy to be part of this. I started the ABM Leaders Group to create a environment where we can put together some very sharp people and share best practices and ideas, give each other some support during COVID, which we're still going through. But it's all about learning and about sharing, and so happy to be part of this. So thank you all for joining me. Let's kick it off, and let's talk about partner engagement. So Claudia, I saw you on your sign. You talk about engagement and exciting and so forth. So you're obviously very close to that. So how do as a group, how do you excite, engage your channel partners' participation in things?
So I have a very different perspective, right? I have a perspective from a vendor that provides incentive automation solutions. So to me, engaging partners is all about ease of doing business. And when you talk about MDF is a very complex business management process that once automated may become easy to do business with. But to me, engaging partners is about that, making it easy, making it visual. It's right in front of them. They don't have to read. Partners don't read. I think you all know that. But so you have to provide an experience that is very easy to engage with. And remember one thing which is from a incentives automation perspective, right? I look at hundreds of programs, of MDF programs, right? Both co-op, which are different from MDF, right? And so again, big challenge is making it easy.
So I have a perspective on this, because to really have engagement, you need to have two things: activation and enablement. So what Claudio just described to me is really about the table stakes of enabling partners. You absolutely do not want to have friction in your process, but you can have the best process in the world and it doesn't inherently lead to activation of your partners and true engagement. So you kind of need to have both. And we are, by the way, partners of 360 Insights. We're customers, and so I can attest to say that good technology is just critical to laying that foundation. And then you really need to be thinking strategically about, okay, how do you pull levers that prove value to your partners so that they want to engage with you and drive revenue together?
Yeah,
and I can tag on to that. I also think it comes down to the relationships you actually build within the individual partners, because even if you have everything right and the right strategy, if you don't have the right relationships internally, you're never going to get that sort of share of voice to actually get anything executed on or successfully executed on.
I would highly agree, jumping in here. We have a two kind of prong approach. Cam right here is one of our partners, if you will, a distribution of our channel partners. And we deal with channel partners within Pax8 themselves. And for us, it starts with the onboarding process by all means, but then it continues because through QBRs or anything else, that we continue to engage them, and we engage them not only in the marketing to try and help them sell, but also in the relationship itself of our product. We definitely want to make sure we're building a product that they need. And so getting that relationship, as Heather was saying, is very important because the relationship is built on mutual product and respect. And then the sales follow from that, if you will. So it's really important to engage, and it keeps them engaged when they're engaged in the product, because that's where most our MSPs heads are at, is really in products. That's what they love. That's why they started their company. So they like that engagement. And we found that helps pull through with other programs.
Thank you. Thank you. And Cam, I love having you on here because you bring a different perspective. You're not on the marketers, the brand side. You're more on the partner side, and you're on both sides of it too. You need to be engaged and so forth, and you need to get the others engaged as well. So curious your perspective of what's the secret.
Yeah, I think what everyone is saying is absolutely true. The one thing that I would just add on top of that, from us engaging our channel partners on both sides, vendors are our channel partners as well, all the way through to our MSPs and ultimately their customers. So all of these things need to be in place at the right time. It's so much that the timing is right, but that you have the relationships, that you have the enablement in place ready, that you have, all of the content and collateral, and you're driving those business needs, but you got to hit it at that right time, because a lot of these customers themselves and the partners are doing so much research today. They know a lot of what they want, what they want to buy by the time that you are even communicating to them, so that you need to have the rest of these tools in place, and hit it at that perfect time.
Well, it's funny because that's a fundamental tenet of marketing. Like you could say the exact same thing for direct customer facing marketing. So many of the same principles just kind of pick up and apply to the way you think about your partner ecosystem.
And that's a good thing to keep in mind. It's coming from the direct side as well. There's a lot of similarities of the direct and the channel.
Yeah, I would ask all of you. So, if you think about your NDF programs, are you funding more marketing activities or enablement activities?
I think it needs to, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Heather.
No, I was gonna say, I think it needs to be a healthy balance of both. It can't be all of one or the other. If you aren't training and enabling your partners internally, how do you expect them to be successful if anything, or when things come through the marketing activities?
Good answer.
Actually, we market our enablement. Like that is as core to us as anything. So a lot of our marketing is by way of enablement. So we're engaging with our vendor partners and saying, hey, let's build some programs together. And then together we push that out in market and say, because we work with MSPs. So let us help, skill you up, get you really, strong so that you can bring this to your customer.
Excellent.
Excellent. And then I can throw up a poll just for the fun of it. Biggest partner engagement challenges. Put it out there. Some of our webinar attendees, if you can chime in, where do you find the challenges of making the program successful? And I'll give it another 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, this is going to be, how about ding, 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 ding.
All right. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. So we've got a winner so far. Share results. I guess it deserves a follow-up questions, but partner participation is the biggest challenge.
Yeah. So how do we, engage and excite channel partner participation? Anybody wants to share? I'm going to be picking on Leslie, I guess.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'll chime in. I'm not going to pretend like we've cracked this nut, and part of the reason I'm here today is to learn as much from this panel. But I'll tell you our hypothesis that we're working toward, which is we need to be marketing to our partners just as much as we're thinking about and putting resources and time behind marketing through and with them, right? Now, marketing with them will inherently engage them as well and kind of pull them along on participation journey with us. But it's a little harder to scale that. So, the same way that you think about activating and engaging a wide set of, target accounts from a customer perspective, you should design plans that are intended to do that for partners that you want to engage too.
Excellent. Anybody, Heather?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a fatal flaw almost that and I worked in distribution for years, but that I saw from multiple vendors is they all have their own portals, they all have their own systems, and they build these amazing campaigns, but so does every other vendor. So the expectation that somebody's going to log in and leverage it, and that they almost like a misunderstanding that they actually have their own platforms. You aren't building it for the way they go to market. You're building it for the way you go to market. I think that really decreases the participation, where if you pick, and you can't do this with everybody, but let's say you pick 20 or 50 or even 100 strategic partners to build comprehensive plans with, and you customize those for those individual partners, I think you're going to be more successful.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Good point. Who's doing any type of certification programs, marketing certification, marketing accreditation with partners to teach them how to use those tools, Heather?
Marketing certification?
We do those. We actually do those at Proofpoint, and they've been really successful. They're very high level information. So you probably shouldn't call it a true certification, but it does give that badge that I think people like to share and show on social and get you more brand recognition.
Right. Because, last time I looked with the research firms, partner engagement on vendor provided marketing automation tools is really low, right? Somewhere around 17%. And so, I've seen these marketing accreditation programs be successful in bringing that up, but mind you, up to about 28-30% utilization only, right? There has to be more fun, excitement to get partners engaged. So any other thoughts, gentlemen?
Well, yeah, so from our perspective, from an MDF perspective, it really is from our partners that come to us with it. Like, we don't push out MDF for them. We've found that partnering with them versus just giving them MDF funds for a program is much more effective. So when it comes to MDF itself, those are mostly coming to us, and that's usually more of a help with a branding standpoint of branding our products so they can help sell through to their customers. So that's our challenge, as well as when it comes to MDF, participation has come to us. So that's our challenge. And we don't reach out that way for MDF. We are reactive to it, because again, we would actually recommend going to a partner program, a co-program itself, versus just handing over funds so they can do a program. Very, very important as well, again, from the branding standpoint, because they can't sell our brand if their audience doesn't know our brand. So it's very important as well.
So you run your MDF on a discretionary basis for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we usually try and focus on a with versus a through.
Right. And I've seen a lot of that, vendors move out of the entitlement type MDF or co-op programs, right? More into the discretionary area, because that's where enablement and marketing can happen together.
Exactly.
Interesting. So what are the measures? What are you using to track, measure, and report return on investment? Is there really a return? I know that's a big question.
I'll jump in on this one because I had a conversation with Bob about this the other day. And it's a very difficult one, because when you get an MDF request, they want to look at impressions and that type of, and maybe click through. So you get those general type of folks, and we want to say, okay, where are the leads and how they lead down to us, as in, if it's our co-marketing funds we're giving you, our MDF funds, how does it lead to Dropsuite very specifically? So it's a challenge to get to beyond the impression and click rate to get to lead. And that's where we hope to get that. So that's where we are with our current partners.
So the impressions and clicks is more of a sign of trying, and the leads is more of the results.
Yeah, and that's why we look at it from a brand standpoint, because if they're going to give us impressions, that's great. We all love brand impressions so they can help sell, but it gets more difficult when we get them down to the actual lead to, and Claudio, to your point of ROI, to sell through to revenue. That's really where it goes.
So we have a pretty firm line in the sand for MDF that gets allocated as demand gen. So there's MDF for things like enablement and infrastructure, and there's MDF for demand gen. And if it's granted against a demand gen program, then the leads have to be submitted through the portal. and those leads flow through into our system, but they get put into a hold. So we assume that they're going to continue to work them and have them. And what after the hold period is 2 months, and in that 2 months, if they submit a deal reg where the lead that they submitted to us is attached to that deal reg, then we close the loop on that. And then if 60 days goes by and there is no deal reg associated with this lead, then the lead then becomes part of our lead ecosystem that we will pull into our marketing and our campaigns. Now,
Leslie, one quick question. What is your sales cycle length?
So on average, we usually can from hand, but our definition of a lead, by the way, is a hand raiser. So we see conversion of our hand raisers to deals within 1 month. So 2 is pretty generous. But then once something's in it, once a deal's been registered, our sales cycle is anywhere from 9 to 12 months.
Okay. Yeah, but that makes sense. So that's an inquiry even before becoming an MQL. So, right.
I suppose I fit in this in a little bit of a unique situation since we have an inherent base of very active partners within Pax8 today. So all the MDF that we drive is very middle to even bottom funnel. So we very quickly are able to turn around and look within Salesforce campaigns and Power BI the activity that happens. So new logos get attained very, very quickly within our marketing activities. Growth within active logos occurs very, very quickly within our marketing activities. And I think that's just, again, the benefit of engaging with a channel ecosystem is, you can use that MDF in a manner that drives, top of funnel for your own, hand raisers and kind of drive your own brand awareness. But as you move down and want to engage on middle or bottom funnel activities, there are partners out there, that can very much set you up, for those opportunities, and take something that's already been teed up as a solution and then find that right solution and that right brand to close the deal. So we actually have a very short sales cycle.
Cam, so you're funding it with contra revenue, right? As opposed to marketing?
So we're driving the MDF. So we're funding it, ourselves and then, claiming back that marketing funds through our vendor partners.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, Leslie, you're able to measure based on whether it's a sales accepted lead. Is that 6 month, that 2 month period?
Well, not exactly. Those aren't. It actually needs to be a deal reg, which we consider to be a sales qualified opportunity. So to be clear, so they submit the leads. If that person ends up on a sales qualified opportunity in our Salesforce, then that's our ROI to pipe generation. Yeah. And then obviously when the deal closes, that's our ROI to booking.
Okay.
Excellent. That's difficult to do, Leslie. It's not easy.
Yeah. Can we chat after?
And Leslie, you said you have a new system coming out is it to measure that? Is that part of it?
Yeah, we did. So our partner portal, our new partner portal did launch in October. And that is going to make that's going to basically automate that process. So that portal is actually a 360 Insights platform, and it's integrated directly with our Salesforce. Our whole ecosystem of marketing technology is all connected across both our partner tech stack and our direct tech stack. So the mechanisms I just described to you for the partner side is the exact same thing we do for our direct campaigns.
Excellent. And the MDF platform, so do they have the ability, in the claiming process, when the partner goes in to claim MDF, they have the ability to actually upload the lead list. Say they did an event, they generated 15, 20 people, right? As leads, they can upload them right into the systems. And that can go into Salesforce campaigns or any other tool that you use to track that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. And so any ideas on how to structure requirements, MDF program requirements, to ensure funds are used strategically? I've seen a number of things, but I'm very curious.
One thing I like to do is almost structure it like you would put together a creative brief, if any of you have ever done that. So you should have concrete questions that ensure that they're identifying what's the audience, what's the message, why should they care about what you're proposing doing, and then what are the metrics that you're planning on measuring to measure success. I think if you don't ask those sort of core questions when those submissions are coming through and you aren't looking at those really in depth, you're probably at risk at having a lot of unsuccessful, just one-off activities that are running versus strategic campaigns that you're actually funding.
Wow, brilliant. Very well said. Anybody else comments?
Well,
I
I'm glad she said that actually,
Yeah.
because we've been intending to roll that out as well. So we've taken a version of the campaign brief that we require of our teams internally and are creating a version for partners. And I'm curious to see how they react to it.
We've been doing the same thing, Leslie. So I starting that as well, like having one set for ourselves of what's required from any MDF, because it is our money. So we want to make sure it's the same for everyone in terms of what we're looking at and what our expectations are afterwards, because they come with a very different various different things, like only impressions or clicks or things like that as well. So having your own process or having your own campaign brief, if you will. Probably most of us come from the agency world and like that, where we have briefs. So we've been employing those here to make sure that the information that we are getting helps lead to the ROI.
You know, I've seen some vendors actually take sales playbooks, kind of like Heather was describing, right? And use those because those describe, right, the buyer's journey, if you will, right? They're going to be aligned to that buyer's journey. And in MDF, if you want to measure results, right, it's not going to happen with one effort or two efforts or three. Right. It's a sequence of activities and behaviors that lead to that outcome. Right. And so sometimes a sales playbook, it's a good place to go to because it has all those elements that Heather just described.
So you bring up a very interesting point there, Claudio, which is the number of touch points needed even to get, I think on our last one, we discussed this, and I think it was an outrageous, like, I can't remember what the gentleman said, but it was like 20 touch points or something like that he did a study on. But whether it's 20 or we know it's more than 3, which it used to be, but, right. It's very interesting when you enter an MDF program, that's only one touch point. So how else do we get touch points around? If it's going to be an MDF program that leads to, again, to lead gen, that you need to have a minimum number of touch points as well.
Yeah, for sure. I've seen at a minimum 8, all the way from, demand generation into lead management and opportunity management. At a minimum, I'm seeing about 8 touch points. I mean, that's when things go perfect, right?
So the Gartner says it's 22. That's their latest stat. I will tell you that for us, we see an average of 9 to 12, and we do track this through the sales, through the entire life cycle, and we also track how many pre-opportunity qualification and how many need to continue after, because our sales cycles are longer. Yeah. And the reality is that we don't expect that of the campaigns we're doing with partners from an MDF perspective, which actually is why we kind of expect that the programs that we fund have been designed for a particular objective, not a design for the entire life cycle, because it's not realistic. Because people's buying cycle is not as linear as we'd like to think it is. And we don't have an absolute continuous feedback loop of behavioral insights between ourselves and our partner community. So we have to assume that there's things that are happening that we don't know about on their side, stuff happening on our side. So when we craft a plan with a partner, we want to basically get down to, okay, for this particular program, for this investment, what is it going, which part of the process does it really serve? And that's based upon who it's reaching, the nature of the tactics within the campaign, et cetera. So I think we need to just be careful that we don't all of a sudden expect that that these funds are going to automatically fund an entire marketing life cycle.
Right. Agreed.
This is very educational for me because it's all very over my head. But what it does really reinforce, that I understand is as many touch points as you're talking about, because Pax8 steps in and a little bit of that middle to lower funnel, how important it is to maintain those touch points, beyond just working with a channel partner and ensuring that your brand, is continually being elevated, so that when the timing does come, that a channel partner is making that introduction. You have that history of touch points already built up.
Yeah,
exactly. We actually refer to it as the engagement continuum.
Wow. Right. It takes that lead that became a customer and then takes it through the customer life cycle. Is that what you're saying, Leslie? Yeah.
Well, if you're in the cross-sell motion, certainly, but I'm even saying, even in the buying cycle, when you're talking about 12-month long buying cycles, there's a continuum of engagement that is happening between our side and the partner, all along the way of the buying cycle, marketing side, sales side, et cetera. So even up to the point of deal close, there's that engagement continuum really needs to be established. And that's more complicated than what one MDF, one program will have been designed to do. But certainly you make a good point. Once they're a customer, if you're in a business like ours, we have 66 products in our portfolio. Our cross-sell opportunity is huge. Our partners' ability to cross-sell through the customer base is huge. And so we kind of have to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point. I'm sorry, Tom, go ahead.
I was just say couldn't agree more, because we're in a situation where, sometimes we have to wait for someone to get out of their current contract before we do it. And so what do? You've hooked them, but you have to keep the relationship with them until they're out of their contract. It could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be 12 months, depending on who they're using. So it's a very important point to keep it going.
Yeah, but Leslie, you brought a good point. You were talking about supporting your partners through the buyer's journey. Yeah. I have found, one of the biggest issues out there in the channel today is that misalignment between the partner sales cycle and the buyer's journey. And I've been running a number of programs to try to align that partner sales cycle, actually enabling and educating, obviously, partners, what the buyers go through and all the different stages, and what content needs to be served up at which specific stage, and you have all those.
So that's on us.
Know how to use it?
Well, I mean, exactly. That's on us. That's part of the role that the partner marketing needs to play. That's part of the enablement piece, is explaining this is what the mechanics of a purchase are like for these types of solutions that you're selling. This is how long it typically takes. This is what you might be facing as it relates to a competitive rip and replace. All those types of things. It's up to us to set the expectation of the partner and make sure that they're enabled and successful to do it. Right.
Do they recognize demand? Do they recognize inflection points? I find partners, lacking in those areas, especially demand recognition.
When you say demand, you mean like compelling events?
No, I'm talking about, we did a DemGen campaign. Leads came back. I don't know what they're interested in. I can't recognize it, because you don't go so tight, you go very broad with the offering, right?
So, I see. So we would the campaigns that we would run with them, the programs that we would fund would be aimed at achieving something very specific, not aimed at, the Avanti as a brand. It would be about targeting a particular business value and a use case that is addressed by a solution, which might be a suite of products. So it should be clear, if they're using the campaigns correctly, it should be very clear that those who are engaging with it are interested in this particular thing, and that's the sales play that you would execute.
Yep. So highly targeted, right? Highly targeted.
Not only highly targeted in messaging and use cases, but also highly targeted in accounts. So, we will recommend, we do propensity analysis, and we will recommend these are the companies that we believe have a high propensity to buy this solution.
Excellent, thank you. Heather, you were nodding your head. Any thoughts?
No, I completely agree with what Leslie just said. I always tell partners, it's one of my, I don't know if I stole it or if I came up with it, but I always tell people, when you speak to everyone, you reach no one. And I think that's a huge problem in a lot of marketing, is they try to put so much in that it's not relevant to any one audience, and you don't get results from it.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very well said. I think you invented that.
Oh, good. I'll keep it good.
So we call it precision demand marketing, actually. And
Nice.
this is something that we haven't rolled out to our partner community formally. We've been rolling it out internally, but I'm actually in the process of developing some kind of educational materials for our partner community about what precision demand marketing is and why it matters and how you do it.
Wow, brilliant. Maybe we ought to do another session on that, Bob.
Yes, exactly. Make a note of it. Stay tuned.
All right, Cam, you've been very quiet. Any other questions from your end? I mean, your business is very unique, isn't it? Pax8 used to be a distributor, and I always said it isn't. It's an online market.
Yeah, it is. We're a marketplace where, our marketing and actually the enablement that we bring to our partners being so heavily solution focused, I think we do see a high level of engagement. I think a lot of that has to come from value, to get that engagement. I think we also have like an acceptance that, hey, you're just going to see 50% show rates, and make peace with that. That's just the name of the game. But yeah, for us, it's being very agnostic. We have the benefit of that ability to bring things to partners. And I think it's important for our partners to kind of maintain, somewhat of that agnostic delivery to their customers, because you've heard about, displacement and
Right.
As soon as something, needs to be displaced, a partner still needs to be able to solve for the problems that they're solving for, still have a solution for it, but should not have to be brand dependent to be successful. So we kind of have the benefit of not having to be brand loyal.
And I'm curious, Cam. So with your MDF being focused middle of funnel down, what's your sales cycle like?
A long sales cycle for us is 3 to 4 months.
Wow.
So it's usually even shorter than that.
3
we
months.
also, yeah, we also look at, a sales cycle kind of differently throughout the lifetime of the growth of that partner. And that's why enablement is so important. Just being able to lock in that net new logo, that's definitely the hardest bit, is to get a partner to spend $1 on something new. But from there, it's enabling them to go and deploy across their entire reach. Some partners will buy in and really, get accustomed to a vendor and start deploying it to their customer base. But you'll see about 100 or 200 seats get deployed when, there's still another 900 to go. So what is that sales cycle between, the 100, which is that, toughest piece to get through, but then there is a little bit of a tail there, maybe 6-7 months to really see the rest of that sale come to fruition.
So you're formulating your incentives on consumption then?
Our incentives are on consumption, yes.
Right, because getting the breakthrough, getting the account, 100 seats is great,
Yeah.
but the 900 coming is where it's.
Well, and we're also operating on somewhat thinner margins than an ISV would.
That is true. That is absolutely true. What about you, Heather? Are your incentives MDF, for example, tied to consumption in any way, shape, or form?
It depends on the side of the business you're looking at. So we do have some that are consumption based. Most of them are around deal regs and closed won. So those two playing together, and then weighing it very heavy on net new revenue.
Right.
So not necessarily net new customer, because we, again, have a very large portfolio. So really, almost like Cam has with getting into that, like getting to all the accounts, ours is getting our entire portfolio incorporated into the practice that we really look at achieving.
Wow, brilliant. Tom, any thoughts from your side?
Well, so actually that is, Cam described a very big challenge for us. And that is once we get the first 50, 100 seats, how do we get the attachment rate up for the rest of those seats? So that really is an important part. And that's where we come into play, where MDF and something else come into play. We'll work with that partner in order to help them get the rest of the seats sold through to their customers. So a very, very big part of what we do is after the first 100 seat sale.
Well, good. You know, I just had a thought. We were talking about engagement at the beginning, and you know, this definitely is a challenge for everybody. So very odd question. I'll start with Leslie. How many pages is your MDF program guidelines?
Too many.
Too many.
I don't even know the number of pages, but it's too many. It's not nearly as simplified as it ought to be.
Heather, do you know?
I am not sure the number of pages, honestly. Again, probably too many and probably too complicated, quite honestly.
Right, and that's why I brought that up, right? Because that's one of the biggest things that I find. You know, I'm called in to, you know, evaluate client programs, and 20-page MDF requirements document with links and all, right? It's still very, very difficult to get across through to partners. What about you, Cam? I'm betting yours is a lot simpler.
It is. We don't even really have one. You know, at least not for our MSP partners. You know, that's something that we work hand in hand with our vendors. We've got about a 25-page vendor program that we work with that just kind of details the programs that we run and enable and kind of open up as opportunities for MDF investment. But there's not something true that exists for our MSP partners.
Yeah, you're very unique in that sense, because we all have to deal with the big complex program guidelines that goes through compliance, through finance, through legal, just to get it.
Yeah, and we actually, so that is one of our value adds as well, is, you know, we have teams that kind of sift through those, you know, for our vendors. So for something like a Microsoft MDF guide, which is, I can't even tell you how many pages it is, but we carry collateral that distills that down to, you know, less than 10 pages. That really kind of highlights for our MSPs how to make the most of your Microsoft co-op and the funds that are available there.
Wow, that's very interesting. Very interesting. And that's a big challenge. And Bob, where are you going to pop up another question around challenges, brand challenges? And
let's see. So we got one about biggest brand. So the brand internal engagement question.
Right.
Let's talk about that. So we talked about engaging the partners, but how to, you know, what's the challenge around getting internal buy-in, like from your company itself?
Yeah, getting budget.
Getting budget.
Cam uses everybody else's money, so you wouldn't.
That's easy.
Getting executive buy-in, yeah, that works. Compliance is always a big issue. And if you're doing it manually, administrative burden is definitely there. Some people have all of the above and just as well. So I'm really curious about this.
Yeah, so we can keep talking, and then I'll fill you in on the result.
So Heather, how are you running your MDF program?
So it all is proposal based. So essentially they have to submit a plan, a strategy around it. We review each one before we approve it. I'm not a fan of the blanket sort of percent payback reinvestment model. I think it works in some cases, but I think overall your results in that model are not going to be as high, because you don't, not that you want to control the strategy, but you don't necessarily have the collaboration that you need to build something strategic together.
Right, and you can focus the investment that way.
Yes.
You know, I see a lot of programs where the reimbursement rate varies by activity type, right? And that way, while being fair and equal to everybody, the vendor can focus the investment on those specific activities by giving a high reimbursement rate, say 100%, right?
Mhm.
So really different.
So we have a proposal based approach as well, and the way it was designed, I think, is strategic, but the way it actually plays out isn't always as such. And I'm curious if others see this. So we have a planning process we call the business plan with partners, and part of that includes the marketing plan. And we review that plan. And, we'll say, yes, we approve it, or we'll approve this parts of it. And then we expect that as they move forward, they will, raise their request for funding as is appropriate per this plan. We rarely see all the partners that end up that we expect really complete the business planning process, really get through that. And then, a few months into the year, they start reaching out through their channel account managers and want to do specific individual tactics. So then the proposals start being very specific to an individual tactic. And then it just becomes us, whoever asks for money, we're negotiating with our internal CAMs, whether that's a good use of the money or not. Which, isn't as strategic as we want it to be, and doesn't necessarily ensure that the funding that we have ends up going to the most impactful places. Curious if others see this.
I think that's universal.
Okay.
Yeah, what I see, top vendors running MDF programs do is they do have a planning process, right? And that that outcome of the planning process, typically done in a half a year, then it's uploaded into the MDF tool, right? But at the campaign level, not at the activity level, because that's where partners fail. They know they want to generate demand, they know they want to do an event, and they know more or less around what date and what they're going to get out of, but they get in trouble with the activities, right? And so, so those successful vendors that I've seen focus on the planning process, and then they let the vendors, the partners rather, come back and execute the activities against that plan, and they may change, right? Hey, it was a in-person event. No, it's gone, digital, and so all those activities are going to change. We had a lot of that.
We've had that too, Claudia. We usually will get a request. Our requests are very, very pinpointed for time or something like that. So it's not like they're doing an annual campaign for MDF, but it usually starts at MDF and ends somewhere else that is not MDF. It usually ends where we would like it to go, in a partner co-op program, versus just giving them money for an MDF. So it's very interesting that evolves that way. So they do come with this, but then we have a deeper discussion when we know their goals, in order to get, well, maybe we should do it this way instead. That is a partnership versus a like that. But I do have to say, though, in a lot of our markets, because we're in emergent markets as well, a lot of our partners, say in South Africa or someone like that, just need the branding of our product so they can sell it. So it's I know I talked about earlier about branding versus lead gen. So we have to take that into account. Do we help them brand ourselves in a marketplace that doesn't go all the way through? So there's those layers that you get. So MDF to us seems to be a great branding layer in those emerging markets that need brand to help sell. And when we get more specific, we get down funnel with programs versus through.
Yeah. Hey, Bob, we forgot about the poll.
Yeah, here's the poll.
Okay.
Pretty split. And matter of fact, all of the above. Yeah, pretty much everything is an issue.
I don't see compliance. Wow, that's surprising.
And maybe they're not thinking about that yet. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's surprisingly even.
It is, isn't it? Compliance these days is huge. It's absolutely huge. Reimbursing partners. And I got a question. So how do you reimburse partners? Heather, do you want to?
It depends on the partner and what they will allow us to do. So we do have a platform that we can manage reimbursements from, but especially if you get into the EMEA markets, sometimes they have very strict restrictions on how you can actually release funds to them. So a lot of it is back end manual processing versus leveraging a platform.
Yeah. Tom, how about you?
So we don't do a reimbursement program. We pay up front with our, we have the program agreed to at the start with the funding, and then just pay them the funding to go do the program itself. So it's not a reimbursement process.
Okay.
For us, it differs by the type of partner, but generally speaking, they invoice us. So, you know, we set them up in our procurement system in the same way we would set up a vendor that we might pay.
Yeah.
And after the fact, they submit an invoice. We reconcile to make sure the invoice matches what had been approved, and then pay it.
You
Cam,
pay
I'm
it
afraid
regardless if the results are there or not.
Go ahead.
What's that?
They don't have to prove
Correct.
the results.
Reimbursement is not based upon whether the campaign delivered what they anticipated it would.
Whether they get another program or not, it's a different matter.
Well, exactly. I mean, think about it the same way if you were to hire an agency to run a marketing campaign for you, you're going to pay them because they did the thing. Whether the thing was good or not is kind of on you because you decided to pay them.
Yeah.
And Cam, how about you? I'm suspicious that you are going to be
that's,
totally different. Yeah.
That's a not applicable for me.
No.
Now, I mean, if there's anything, we'll, you know, because we carry a lot of recurring revenue by way of service credits would be the most, you know, easily facilitated, but it's not something that, you know, we do all that often to begin with.
Yeah, a little bit surprising there. Just to clarify, so you're saying that you don't reimburse MDF?
Well, we don't even pay it out to begin with, you know, by and large to our partners.
Okay. Bob, how are we doing on time?
We're doing well. So I had a couple other questions. So getting to attribution, you know, especially with the multiple touch points, multiple people at the target account, you know, how do you attribute the success of the program? Do you get, if they're the first touch, if they're the last touch, or the middle touch, do they get credit?
If somebody can find an answer to this, I think they could like.
I have a
millionaire.
very strong point of view on this one. This is kind of my jam. Marketing attribution. I could talk about this every day. So we believe in a multi-touch approach for all the reasons we talked about earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
None of that first touch or last touch shenanigans. Do not care. So as long as the person, the specific individual who responded in some measurable way to the marketing activities ends up on the opportunity and that opportunity ends up getting booked, that is marketing. We call it contribution, right? Yep. And so we credit that marketing activity for having contributed to that outcome. And we expect and see consistently that many different marketing activities contributed to that outcome. And we actually measure all of them. So when we do our reporting, we report the net contribution. We don't add up all the individual campaigns to get to a total. We report on the net. And then when we look at an individual campaign, we'll say this campaign contributed to what ultimately resulted in this much. We don't try to like peanut butter spread the value across. If it's 8 campaigns, then we divide it by 8. None of that.
Wow, that is so refreshing, Leslie, because the hard part here is, you know, we have, let's say senior level that need to have an attribution. So is it the first one? Is it the last one? So they can look at it through ROI and then tell us which marketing program they want us to tell which marketing programs got us ROI when we know that it's the multiple of them. So I'm going to take this approach from you, Leslie. Thank you very much, because that is really the hard thing that we have is where do we put the attribution, particularly for the ROI, for where senior level want to see ROI. So that's refreshing. Thank you.
I feel free to ping me offline on this. When I joined Avanti 2 years ago, it was one of my first missions was to retrain our executive team to think differently about how we measure marketing. And believe it or not, everybody has loved it. People love that it's not about credit, giving credit to and who did this and that. What I tell them is the marketing things that are working and not working is inside baseball for us to figure out. What you need to know as a business is collectively, are the investments we're making returning at the level that we need them to?
Right.
Yes.
So.
And Leslie, you mentioned is that if that person becomes an opportunity, but it's really talking about the account itself, not necessarily.
No, absolutely not. It has to be the person. So whether you can do it at an account level or not depends very much on the nature of your business. We're a $1 billion company with 66 products in our portfolio. Any given account could have 10 different opportunities open at one time in different stages of the sales cycle. So if we were to do an account level kind of contribution measure, we could be thinking that one campaign, an interaction with one campaign, had contributed to one of those opportunities. In a way, it absolutely did not, because it's a completely different buying center. So no, it has to be the individual.
Good, thank you. And
But they don't have to convert.
No, they convert.
I just want to say that they don't have to. We don't need to see this magical lead conversion in Salesforce for that. Like it's just a tie out to the person.
So it's an intermediate milestone as opposed to the final sale, because the final sale is too far out there. It's 6/12.
No. I want to be clear. They have to. The deal has to convert. I mean, when a lead comes in, a lot of people don't associate a lead to an opportunity unless the lead was literally converted to the opportunity. That is irrelevant. When the lead gets added, when or how the person ends up on the opportunity does not require that conversion activity and mechanism to have occurred. It's just an association of the persons on the campaign and the persons on the opportunity. And then what we measure is what was the date of the campaign response relative to different date milestones of the campaign pipeline stages. So if they responded to a campaign and then the opportunity was created, we say that campaign contributed to the creation of an opportunity. If the opportunity already existed and then they responded to the campaign, then we'll say that it contributed to the progression of the opportunity, and we'll look at stage progression.
So as Heather said, net new revenue. Not net new account, but
That's right.
That new red, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Very, very good.
All right. So thank you. So I have one other question, with the time permitting. So, how do you, at the end of the day, how do you get more budget for next year? What does your boss expect from you to be able to get the budget or get more budget next year?
2 words for me: proven ROI. When you get proven ROI, you get more budget.
Pretty simple.
I'm looking at you, Kim.
Where I was going. That's it. That's how you drive the numbers up.
Full disclosure, we do work together, Cam and I. So
To me, it's proven ROI against that particular fund. If you're talking about the MDF
Yes.
budget specifically,
yes.
but it's also understanding how much growth is expected to come from our channel. So if we can say our business is expecting that our partners are going to contribute to X percentage of growth, and then I can tie back ROI, I can say then we need X% increase in budget.
Heather, you're very quiet. I'm worried.
No, other than Beck, no, both the ROI and tying it back to the actual numbers and projections for the next year to make sure you're in alignment.
And the ROI is measured in terms of opportunity, not necessarily closed sales.
I think it has to be both, because if you generate a lot of opportunities that never closed, I wouldn't keep giving me money.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
not helpful.
Exactly.
The challenge with the close is that it's a year out, or 2 years out even potentially, but that's part of it. So it's a longer term measurement and a shorter term measurement.
Yeah, but then you have to look at also the deal sizes, the win rates over time, etc.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. This is a nice discussion. Any other thoughts, words of wisdom before we call it a day?
I just want to throw something out there because I don't know if I have the unique experience. I've worked for the largest MDF company, Intel, for quite a while, actually. So it's been very interesting to me to get into this channel mode and see the evolution of, or I'd say de-evolution of MDF. And so I'm curious, you know, I myself don't see a future in MDF because I see more partnership orientation than just give money to go do something. So just my 2 cents there is I see MDF slowly fading out in terms of our usage of it and overall in the marketplace. I don't know if anyone else sees that.
I think it's more of an evolution of the definition versus MDF
point.
going away.
Good point.
Yeah,
Heather.
I agree with Heather on that.
I think it's a little of both myself.
All right. Well,
Excellent.
thank you, everyone. It's been really an interesting discussion today.
And we have a good topic for next
Thank
time, so we can stay tuned for that.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks
Really
all.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Bob.
Happy
Thank you,
holidays.
everyone.
Happy
Goodbye.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thanks, Claudia.